to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, mothers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, where we are all about our mission, transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. My name is Karen Dunmore, and I am thrilled to be your platform assistant this morning. It's been a while. I have to say, this song is something that I used to sing when I was walking to work in the morning to a job I really hated. And I'd walk to work and I'd sing that song and I'd be all pumped up, and then I'd get to work. But it was great. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was around. I could sing at the top of my lungs. So as always, I want to begin our time together by sharing our opening affirmation. I will say it once and then ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together, there is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. This is Unity's foundation principle: one presence, one power, one life, living through and as each one of us. This morning, we will be hearing from our transformational speaker, Ernie Hawks, and his message titled Celebrating Communion in the Cathedral of the Tamarack, Fir, and Pine. Ernie will also be leading us in today's meditation. And I will tell you a little bit more about Ernie after news you can use. We don't have much today, but we do have our annual meeting, and that's at 11:30, right after the service. The Zoom number is on the screen and can be accessed in Wednesday's newsletter. We will not be having an after-service call so that we can all attend the annual meeting, or have a, okay. About our Okay, so our transformational speakers, the next couple weeks, on March 7th, we will have Mary Teresa True with her message titled Release, Renew, and Reuse, looking at Lent through a new lens. And the following week, on March 14th, Hank Breckling will be sharing his message titled Healing Your Relationship with Christianity. So now I will introduce Ernie. Ernie and I have known each other and been friends for just about 30 years. And he wrote a book some years ago, had an opening at a celebration at a bookstore. And the book is called Every day is a high holy day. This is a little public service announcement. He has brought books with him, and they're at the back of the church for anyone that wants to purchase. They're $15. And about his talk title, Celebrating Communion in the Cathedral of the Tamarack, Fir, and Pine. Ernie lives in the woods with tamarack, fir, and pine, so the cathedral could very appropriately be his home. Anyway, let's all give a big hand, big unity welcome for Ernie Hawks.
So let's start with our meditation. And let your imagination take you to someplace in nature, someplace maybe in the woods, maybe by a beach, an ocean beach or a lake beach, possibly by a stream, someplace where you're comfortable, someplace where you're safe. And just relax into the arms of Spirit as you sit there, or stand there, or walk there. Just settle into the arms of Spirit. And think a little bit about what you're able to hear. What are you hearing? Is it loud, soft, gentle? All of that fits into your place? What can you see? Can you see far? Or is it closed in around you a little bit? What can you see? And what can you feel? Can you feel your feet on the ground? Possibly sitting? Feel your clothes. Is there more to feel? Is it warm, cool, a breeze on your cheeks? And what can you smell? Can you smell vegetation decomposing back into the earth? Can you smell the salt air of the ocean beach? What do you smell? And one more, what do you taste? A lot of times, all of these other senses will remind us of a taste. Or sometimes we'll actually taste what's in the air around us, or if we're eating a snack or something. So what do you taste? And then what is your soul feeling here? Your biggest sense. What is your soul feeling? What are you aware of? What are you understanding? Awareness is our goal. So what is your soul feeling? What is your awareness? And I have an excerpt from John O'Donohue's Anankara. It's for the blessing for the senses. May you be peaceful and joyful and recognize that your senses are a sacred threshold. May you realize that holiness is mindful, gazing, feeling, hearing, and touching. May your senses gather you and bring you home. May your senses always enable you to celebrate the universe and the mystery and possibilities in your presence here. And may the Eros of the earth bless you now and always. Amen. So, thank you, Karen, for the nice introduction. It's good to be back and visit with Karen again. She's right, an old friend from a long time ago. It's neat to be back with Karen, and it's good to be here. I've never got to speak here. I've been here to some services, but I've never got to speak here. So it's good to be here today with you all. About the book, also, there's a basket back there you can drop some money or a check in. If you're like me and you don't have money or a checkbook with you, there's some self-addressed stamped envelopes right behind the book. Take a book, take an envelope, and go and enjoy. Okay? So, several years ago, I was scheduled to speak at the Unity Church in Coeur d'Alene, back when Reverend John Considine was there. And he sent an email to all of the board members saying that he would be gone and that I would be speaking, and would they please be sure and come out and support me while I was there, while I was speaking. Well, I was on the board at the time, so I got that email. And one of the board members did a reply all, so I got this one too. It said, "I'll be glad to be there to support Ernie on Sunday, unless the skiing looks good." Actually, I don't take any issue with that at all. I can understand that completely. And as Karen was talking about earlier before, I do often celebrate communion in the Cathedral of the Tamarack, Fir, and Pine, where there's huge wooden columns reaching up sometimes over 100 feet to a ceiling sky that is blue or white or gray or maybe a cloudy relief of all three. On the floor, there's a thick, dense color of green, several colors of green, and several textures of green, of grasses and ferns and mosses. It's all changing color through the seasons and is blanketed with white in the wintertime. A lot of times through the winter, or through the middle, there will be a stream that's flowing through to some distant ocean as it babbles under logs and cascades over rocks and splashes against the shore, and it's all creating a music that is accompanying a choir of flickers, finches, and jays. See, I believe God is everywhere, in everything, in all of us, and all that's around us. But God is not confined to just that. I'm sorry I said he, but God is not confined to just that. And not even confined to the universe as we understand it. So that means that my relationship with God is the same as the relationship I have with everything in the world, the people, the animals, the objects, such as water, the rocks, the plants, the soil, the air. These are all part of my relationship with God, as well as my relationship with you is part of my relationship with God. I also believe in a divine order, maybe a creation, if you will. Now, maybe you've heard, there seems to be a conversation about whether that creation took 7 days or several billion years. And have you heard about that? Yeah, okay. I happen to lean towards several billion years. But then I have a lot of friends that question whether I'm fully evolved anyway. So maybe I'm hoping for a little more time or divine order on that. But I think the writers of the Bible had an understanding that the earth and every part of it was spirit, just as we are spirit. Because in the Bible there are over 3,000 mentions of earth, air, wind, water, fire, trees, and plants. Not to mention all the times that people or animals get mentioned. And we depend on nature every minute of every day that we live, that we breathe. Christina Baldwin writes in her book, The Seven Whispers, "We start by calming ourselves, seeking peace of mind by taking in breath. And what is breath? Nature. Nature's gift. The exhalation of trees. As long as we are alive, the journey of spirituality always returns us to the body, because we are the earth, end quote. You remember in Exodus, Moses is approaching the burning bush and he hears, "Take off your shoes, you're on holy ground." Well, I believe that it's all holy ground. Every step of it is holy ground. An experience I had a few years ago, I am a writer, as Karen said, and so I did bring some stories, and this is an experience I had a few years ago that kind of explains my feeling about my relationship with nature. It was a cold morning. It was very cold, in the mid-teens, and I was walking along the frozen edge of a wetlands. There was a steep bank to my right that kept me from being there most of the year. But on this day, the water that the reed grass was growing out of was frozen solid, and it made it possible for me to walk there, as well as a lot of other animals along that route. What made this morning different was that the cold snap had come before there was any snow on the ground that obliterated the demarcation between the frozen water and the forest climbing up into the mountains, the edge of the wetlands. And as I walked along that old frozen game trail, I saw a small silver-white spot just above the ice line. It was slightly bigger than a silver dollar, it looked like. Of course, immediately my interest was piqued. My curiosity was really piqued. And to get a closer look, I had to walk through the brittle stalks of frozen grass that were still standing in defiance of winter until I could reach that anomaly. And then I got on my knees, and I could see that there was a small burrow just above the ice, and above that, what I was seeing was a patch of frost. The frost was the result of the breath of an animal, a small animal inside that was coming out and freezing on the edge of the burrow there. So I don't know what was in there, a little vole, a mouse, but I assumed it was sleeping, so I didn't bother it anymore because I know how cranky I can get when my sleep is interrupted. And I'd never seen frost at a vent like that, a winter vent before. And then I thought this may be the first time I'd been out at these temperatures that didn't have snow on the ground, which would have taken care of that and covered it. But after that awareness, I saw it several more times during the day as I hiked around the hills and through the valleys. Sometimes it was large patches of frost underneath the upper lip of a large den, but most of them were the little dollar signs. So, this is nature. I didn't bother the animals because it would have been a violation. A curiosity is normal, but we need to be very careful and very prayerful whenever we disrupt or destroy any part of nature. Because as Christina said, we are of the earth. Albert Schweitzer said, until he extends his circle of compassion to include all living things, man will not himself find peace. That's all living things. The earth, the air, the rocks, as well as the animals and the birds and the fish. So as you might guess, I love being out in the wintertime when I can, snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. In fact, I had a friend one time ask if winter was my favorite season, and I had to kind of pause. I don't know. I know I can place it in the top 4. But the places in the wintertime are closed a lot of times because of the inconvenience to the season. So that allows me to be out there, or allows any of us to be out there in that sweet, serene silence that only winter can bring to us, searching for the mystery and the mists over a stream that's flowing over frozen rocks and through icy, undomesticated landscapes. And these sessions can turn into a quiet session that'll last for hours several times. And the meetings like this are church-like for me, not because they happen on Sunday morning, which is not unusual, but because Spirit seems to scream through that silence to me. And then the petite song of a chickadee shatters the stillness with the announcement of His bright Spirit. And during these dormant times that include some of the holiest days of the year for many of us, it's easy for me to see the Christ in all of creation that's around me. I can see it in the rocks. I can see Christ in the trees and the animals. One time I was sitting on a frozen rock, feeling the energy next to a fast-flowing stream that was falling too fast to freeze. And as I studied the mist, I saw a form that seemed to be moving back and forth and adding to the steam that I was in. I sat quietly as it moved back and forth across in front of me, possibly on the other side of the fog. I couldn't tell from there. Pretty soon it started coming toward me. It would move and stop, getting bigger all the time. Finally, a shape I started to recognize came in, and it was a bull elk. It was coming forward. He would stop and browse on an old leaf left on some brush, and then take a step forward. I could see his breath from his nostrils going out and joining the mist over the stream. Then I noticed the breath from my nostrils going out and joining the mist over the stream. The Christ in the elk, the Christ in the stream, and the Christ in me were all joining into one cloud. I wanted to shout out, that is a perfect image. We are all one. But I didn't shout because that would have changed the scene completely. An elk needed to be there to browse and get a drink. Stream needed to be there to take that mountain energy down into the valley. And I needed to be there to get the message from elk and stream. And I wanted it to last as long as possible. In the book Grandfather by Tom Brown Jr., Grandfather was a mentor to Tom Brown Jr. He was a Native American, and by grandfather, that was a term of wisdom, a wise elder. And back in the day, I understand that wasn't necessarily a male term. It was the way it was translated into their languages. It could have been any wise person. But anyway, so Tom Brown Jr. wrote this book about his mentor, entitled it Grandfather. And Grandfather says to him, "You must understand that there can be no separation in nature and spirit. There is only one in the same. Nature becomes a doorway to spirit, and spirit also becomes a doorway to nature. There is only one sacred oneness that we are all part of." So as you might guess, I'll make almost any excuse to get out. I even live out there. And when I don't have an excuse, I'll oftentimes go out anyway. But one excuse that I use a lot is the quest for the perfect photo. And if you saw my pictures, you would know that it's about the quest and not the photo, is the reason I'm going out there. But it's an excuse I use. And that's how I found myself one morning in a blind that I had put up the day before, and then I snowshoed out in the morning before sunup. I was about level with the top of an old bull pine snag that I had seen bald eagles in several times. And I was above a lake, a large deep lake that froze that rarely froze, so there were ducks swimming around on it. And as I got into my blind, I put my camera lens through a slit in the mosquito netting that the blind was made out of. And I sat there and waited. And I watched the ducks down on the water. And every once in a while, they would raft together real tight in a tight little island. And an immature bald eagle would come in and make an unsuccessful and rather awkward attempt at a breakfast. And then they would spread out again. And as I sat there, I had a cover over me too, so I couldn't see up, but I could hear ravens flying over me. And that kind of silence, they have a real distinct wing song. And so I could hear the ravens flying over me. And behind me, I could hear woodpeckers in the trees getting around behind me here. Thanks for the trees, by the way. I like the forest up here. But I could hear the woodpeckers in the trees behind me. And pretty soon in the brush that I had used to hang up my blind, the finches and the nuthatches were starting to flick around me here. And I knew that at that point that I had probably almost been there long enough to be accepted. And as the sun reached over the east horizon and made its way to the bottom of the valley and started shining on the water, then all of a sudden, all the ducks scattered and flew. as a mature bald eagle, looking black and white in that light, gracefully came into view, gliding perfectly, gracefully toward the water. And almost without a splash, it grabbed a fish and started and lifted toward the branch, the bare branch that I had my lens trained on. As they often do, he came in a little low and swooped up at the last minute, stalling and grabbing the branch without letting go of his catch. First, he let out several screeches, letting the world know what he had taken. Then he gave thanks to the Great Spirit. It gave thanks to the air that carried its wings and let it fly. It gave thanks to the land, the rocks, and the soil that contained the lake where he found his meal. Eagle gave thanks to the tree for a safe place to roost and to eat. And he gave thanks to the water for nurturing and growing the fish. And finally, he gave thanks to fish for giving it the gift of another day. And then reaching down with that big yellow hooked beak, it took sustenance. I could hear flesh tearing and bones breaking as fish spirit gave fish body to eagle. And I felt honored to be allowed to witness this communion. As I've mentioned, everything in the earth, to the farthest reaches of the universe, is part of Spirit. And it all sustains us. We can't forget to thank Spirit for all of that nourishment and all of that nurturing. Thankfulness is imperative because we leave a footprint. We can't help it. The fish gave its life so that eagle could survive. We also take life in our journey as spiritual beings having an earthly experience. That's real easy to explain if you eat meat as I do. I choose not to kill, but I still have to be responsible for the lives that I take food from. But still, it goes even beyond that. When I'm eating a carrot, my favorite snack food, that carrot was a spiritual being having an earthly experience. And that ends. It doesn't grow anymore. It doesn't reproduce. Ted Karasote, in his book, Ted Karasote is a Jackson, Wyoming writer, and has several books out. And this is Heart of Home is the name of this one. And this is a fairly long quote, but I love it. He writes, "If you want to stay in the game, meaning you decide not to commit suicide and exempt yourself from all future killing, there isn't a single good strategy that lets you live without inflicting some harm. Neither carnivorism, omnivorism, or vegetarianism, or being a careful farmer, or an organic livestock grower, or an aboriginal hunter-gatherer. Some life plans, however, are more clear-sighted than others. Whichever we choose, we can try to take gently those lives that support us, offering thanks for their gifts, and rejoicing often that we are given another day." End quote. Now, I don't want you to feel guilty for living, but remember that divine order. My hope for you is to raise your awareness even more. My hope for you is to appreciate and honor Spirit in all of its forms while walking consciously and cautiously through this plane. My hope for you is to understand how we are dependent on nature while we take from it and take care of it. Let me give you an example. As Karen said, I maintain a small piece of forest. And before my late wife and I bought it, it had been brutally logged for a few years before, and nothing had been done since then. So we promised the forest that we would not waste anything as we tried to nurture it and let it grow. And as we strengthened the whole forest through very careful selective logging, we've sold some logs. We used some in the rebuild of our house. Most of it we used for fuel. An important part of our maintenance is that what we can't use, the tops and the ends of the branches and the needles, what we can't use, we slash and spread. That means we take all of those branches and spread them back out onto the ground. Sometimes we'll rent a chipper and do it that way too. But this is the wood's own natural fertilizer. This will decompose back into the earth, and it will nurture the brothers and the sisters of the trees that we take. It will support the children and the grandchildren of the trees that we use. Back to Tom Brown Jr. again, and grandfather. He says the grandfather had maintained a piece of forest himself, and he's showing it to Tom Brown. And he says, man is the tool of the Creator and creation. Man can help nature do what would otherwise take many years. Man belongs to the earth, and the earth belongs to man. It's not just taking from the earth and giving nothing in return. As you can see, the earth, this forest, once gave to me, and I, in return, helped it grow stronger. Man has an important part of the survival of creation, for it is through man that nature can grow strong and healthy. Do not the winds and the storms trim the trees? Do not the animals eat the plants and other animals? Do not the plant people feed off the sunshine, the soil, and the waters of the earth? We all need each other to survive, but there must be a balance and harmony with man and nature. So we thank every tree that we take. And it's a rare day we don't thank the forest for being there and blessing us. A few years ago at a workshop I attended, Ann Linnea told me in the morning that she was going to take me out and introduce me to a tree. This was over in the Cascades in Oregon. And so she took a couple of us out to a big old Sitka spruce that was out there. And I thought, well, isn't this interesting? I've been in woods most of my life, and now I'm being introduced to a tree. But we stood around at a respectful distance, presenting our energies and feeling the energy from the tree, until each one of us individually got our invitation to step up to the tree. If you've never had a chance to feel the energy of a mature tree, I hope you get one soon. Or from a rock, the energy. Rocks put out just a wonderful energy when you get to sit on them or lay on them. As Scott Stillman said, rocks hold the wisdom and energy of the core of the earth. So if you get a chance, feel that energy of a rock sometimes. I know a lot of people that prefer to sit directly on the ground to feel that energy rather than and draw that energy and that wisdom. And we must return our energy back to nature. So, as you probably guessed, the pictures of the eagle and the fish were pretty lame, but the images were seared into my soul. And I sat there most of the rest of the day thinking about the dens and the frost, about elk and his lessons of oneness for me. And I gave thanks to Great Spirit for another one of these high holy days. And leaning against one of those giant columns in the cathedral of the tamarack, fir, and pine, feeling its energy, I rejoiced for having been given another day. Thank you.
Oh, the place where I worship
is the wide open spaces built by the hand of the Lord, where the trees of the forest are like pipes of an organ, and the breeze plays an amen chord, and the stars are the candles, and they light up the mountains. Mountains are altars of God. Oh, the place where I worship is the wide open spaces where the sun warms the peaceful sod. There's a carpet of green and a sky blue roof above. You're welcome there alone or with the one you love. In your heart, take a good look. If you follow the good book, you're sure to find your reward. Oh, the place where I worship is the wide open spaces built by the hand of the Lord. Oh, the place where I worship is the wide open spaces built by the hand of the Lord.
That was a great slideshow. Ernie, I am so filled with appreciation for your talk. I've always known about your honor for all life, and it really raised me up. Today is a high holy day, and I just want to say thank you so much. So, unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, and forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths for God. For we know there is only one power, one presence, one life. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey of transformation, you are welcome here. If you are new to our ministry and are interested in learning more about our upcoming transformational speakers, workshops, and events, please sign up for our e-newsletter by texting Unity Spokane to 22828 or sign up on our website at unityspokane.org. We would also like to connect with you on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search Unity Spiritual Center to find us. Let's take a moment to acknowledge and bless one another with a socially distanced namaste greeting. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or at home, please feel free to stand up as you are able and send your conscious, loving energy to those around you. Namaste all. Now is our time to celebrate abundance together as we share our gifts and love offerings. For those of you who feel the divine call to financially support our ministry today, you can drop your offering in the box at the back of the sanctuary. Another option is to text GIVE to 253-528-7416 or visit our website, unityspokane.org, and click the donate button at the top. Please know that your giving means so much to this center and the vitality of our ministry. With that in mind, let us take a moment now to sink into our hearts and bring forth a feeling of gratitude and generosity as we say together our love offering blessing. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. Today, our chaplains are Tim, who is back here in the center, in the sanctuary, who's holding space, and Steve, who is holding the virtual service in prayer from home. Thank you so much, Tim and Steve, for your service today. We would like to encourage anyone who is in need of prayer support, to submit your requests through our online form. Simply go to unityspokane.org and click on the Contact Us button on the main page. You will be taken to a prayer request form. Names are added to our prayer list and are prayed over for 30 days by both our prayer minister as well as Silent Unity. Let us all join together now for our closing prayer for protection, followed by the peace song. Together we affirm, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. All is well, and that's the truth.